Today's episode is brought to you by Delaware Orthopedic Specialists. The birds are back, and you know what that means. Dr. Mesa joining the pod on a weekly basis, providing the best up-to-the-minute updates on all of our Eagles. Let's hope that we don't have too much to talk to him about with injured birds this season, but he and any of the other wonderful providers at DOS can talk to you about ending injury that you or a loved one have been dealing with for far too long. The only fellowship-trained surgery center here in the state of Delaware, why would you trust anyone other than the specialists? Them being specialists means that they are specialized in each and every part of the body. So if you come in looking for a specific doctor for a specific part of the body, they've got you covered. They're going to hold your hand and walk you through every step of the process, and you're going to make sure that you're happy with all of your results. 302-655-9494 is how you get a hold of them on the phone, or head on over to delortho.com to schedule your appointment today. After they provide you with wonderful care, head on over to Google, give them a great review, and let them know that Talkin 215 sent you.
Welcome to Talkin 215, your go-to podcast for everything you need to know about Philly sports. Whether you bleed green, trust the process, fly with the Flyers, or fight with the Fightins, this is the place where we break down Broad Street. Jake, Sean, and Joey deep dive into the heart of Philly sports culture, breaking down games, roster moves, and sharing the stories that make the 215 truly legendary. So grab a cheesesteak, settle in, and let's get to Talkin 215. Now here's your host, Jake Biasado.
We're going to the bowl, boys. We're going to the bowl. We got Coach on the mic, and then who let the dogs out? We got Philly Dawgs, Chris, going on. Boys, we're heading to New Orleans.
Let's go, baby. Let's go.
I'm fucking hyped, man. I'm so hyped.
Dude, so I had a bunch of people over. As you can kind of see a little preview here. We got the bar going over at the Talkin 215 studio. Got the tap going. The first beer is always a little heady, so, don't judge me too hard. I'm going to let the foam die down a little bit, and then we'll top her off. But had a huge party going on here. We had the fireworks going nuts. Right when the game's over, we start setting fireworks off. Like, right when we start setting them off, I hear the front door just – and I was like, well, shit. Like, this is one of two things. And so I go over, open the door, and it's somebody I've never seen before. And I moved in here, in mid-August. So there's still plenty of neighbors. Like, I still have to meet and everything. And I'm like, hey, what's going on, pal? And he's like, oh, we partying? And I was like, oh, hell yeah, come on in. He comes running out. We're popping champagne, going nuts in the back. He's like, yeah, I'm glad I had some cool neighbors in this neighborhood. I'm like, fuck yeah, dude.
How cool was
I didn't know which way.
Like the first time. That's pretty cool.
No, it was wild. It was awesome. Shout out
Yeah,
Gary. Gary with 2 R's.
Didn't know which way that was going to go. Could have been the cops. Could have been anything.
No, exactly.
Hey, stop popping off fireworks. But
no, because there's some
cool
cops that live in my neighborhood too. So I was like, I figured if they're coming by like off hours, they'd just be like, hey man, like before we get a call, like just chill it out. But no, it was Gary. Shout out Gary coming by.
Shout out Gary.
Like, yo, let's go. And I was like, yeah, go Birds, baby. What were you guys doing? Where were you guys watching it? Coach, you go out to a bar? What were you doing?
No, so my sister lives in my same neighborhood. Well, I live in her neighborhood. She lived there longer than me. So literally 2 streets down, me, my wife, my son, every Sunday, we just walk down to my sister's, and my whole family goes over there. It's literally like the Capusta crew just over there. We're all deep, and sometimes friends will come over, just walk in, other family members, just because they want to be around the vibe of us being lunatics, right? Like, I'm in Florida, guys. I'm in Jacksonville, Florida. So there's definitely some chaotic, crazy stuff that goes on. We're all super passionate, but yeah, I will go out to the bar from time to time, like with my other buddies who are either Jags, Vikings, Cowboys, you name it. If there's like a 1 o'clock slate and we're playing like the Titans, I don't really give a shit, like I'll be like, yeah, let's all the boys go and watch the games. But when it's playoff time, Super Bowl, crunch time like that, I got to be centralized in a house, probably a family member, and locked in. I'm not going to be out in public. I can't.
Is there a Birds bar down there? You got an Eagles bar?
There is. It's down by the beaches. It's like it's one of those cool, it's like a Philly's finest type thing.
Yeah, we checked it out when we came down to visit. It was all right.
It was all right, but like, bro, if you don't get there at like the ass crack of dawn, it's just gonna be filled.
Damn straight. We had people tailgating the link the night before.
Yeah, I just like, if I'm gonna be in Florida and I know that thing's gonna be, it's funny because like I said, a week 3, 1 o'clock against the Browns, won't be that many people in there, but all of a sudden we're in the
Right.
playoffs and that thing's packed to the gills. And like, I'm not trying to deal with some bandwagons or casuals, so I got to keep it to home base.
No, that's the move. I was actually at the game with my dad. We
not a
went to
big
the
deal.
Niners. Yeah, no big deal. We went to the Niners NFC Championship game, so kind of become a tradition for us. We're 2-0, obviously, as you guys know. So that was a lot of time. That was a good time. That was a kick-ass game, historical game, put belt to ass. And then we parked in South Philly, so we walked a little towards South Philly, and the streets were just mobbed. Like absolutely mobbed. Kids running around, trash trucks blocking streets. It was mayhem. I didn't climb any poles. I'm too old for that these days, but it was insane. Fireworks, the whole nine.
Chris, I saw like stuff online, like aerial views, and I didn't know if like you know how people will bring up old shit and just try to pawn it off as today. So was that accurate? Those
that was legit. I was down in South Philly, like Broad and Oregon, so like really deep in South Philly, like really close to the stadiums, and from there all the way to City Hall, just a sea of people. It was just insane.
No, it was probably millions. Like it was nuts. No, shout out Philly. I mean, for the most part, stayed pretty civil. You know, you had some crazy stories coming out, but it's a wild time down there at Broad Street. But no, look, we're going to the bowl, and yeah, like you said, belt to ass. And something that was kind of funny, like I heard them say on the broadcast, you know, oh, this is the second time in NFL history a team's ever rushed for 7 rushing touchdowns in a postseason game. And so I was like, well, when was the other time? Like, I don't ever remember hearing about somebody having 7 rushing touchdowns in a postseason game. And I know why. It was 1940. And it was the Chicago Bears also taking on the Washington team, the Washington Redskins at the time, in the NFL championship game. So you figure 2 good teams in the championship game. You know, you figure like you got to assume Washington won or the Bears won if they had 7 rushing touchdowns. No, they fucking murdered them. 73-0. 73-0. The Chicago Bears beat the Washington Redskins in the 1940 NFL championship. So Washington, like, y'all suck.
What do you? Anytime you hear like a old record, something like that, especially in baseball, it's always like the Boston Ramblers and me,
Exactly.
Willie Pena or whatever like that had 7
Leatherhead Sam led the team.
Yeah, and you're like, bro, what? Can we stop keeping records at that point if that team didn't even exist? Like,
yeah, Iron Toe McGillicuddy led the rushing attack with 17 attempts.
Oh my god!
Hey, now we're a real tough guy out there.
In the game.
No,
that's crazy, man.
Insane.
I don't even think I realize it. Like, if we were all having like adult beverages and Chris, you were at the game, like you're just happy that your team is winning, kicking ass, doing well. I don't even think like it sunk in that, man, we ran 7 of these in. Like, did it hit any of you guys like during the game?
Even especially when you're there too, you kind of lose track of all that shit because you're just so caught up in the hype and the momentum, and it's just like, and then I'm in the car scrolling Twitter. It's like, shit, this was a historical game. Shit, we scored 8 touchdowns. Like, and like all of it's like you don't even see like the Jalen smack across the head. They don't show any of it. You just don't really see it. So then to see all that, you know, post game in the car, it's like, holy smokes, man, this was a hell of a game.
No, it was insane. Unreal. Like 8 touchdowns in any game is nuts. In a postseason game, an NFC championship game, where it's supposed to be the 2 top teams in the NFC, it's just absurd. I mean, they went out there, hats off to every single coach, player, everybody out there, because it was just nuts. They went out there with the perfect game plan. They absolutely dominated. And look, shout out to me, my little 3 keys to the game. We nailed every single one of them. I was like, look, you guys, the last time you played them and the last time you played a game against the Rams, so many self-inflicted penalties, like wounds, penalties, mistakes, drops. Like, don't play yourself, play the opponent. That was my first one. They went out there, played relatively mistake-free football, did everything they need to do, had no drops, no dumb penalties, all that. Just went out there, played the Commanders, who was an ass team, and made them look like ass. I said, number 2, matchups. Take advantage. Saquon's going to go wild. First play of the game, obviously, you know what happened. Saquon went wild. And then I said, number 3, Jaden Daniels and the Commanders are a good, not great team. They're going to make mistakes. This time, when you get turnovers, do something with them. 4 turnovers, 28 points.
Yeah. And Chris, let me ask you, since you were there.
Yeah.
That first drive, Washington came out with 18 plays, man. And I'm just thinking to myself, we started saying this at the house where I was watching. I was like, it doesn't matter how good we are on first and second down defensively. I was like, all they need to do is to get in the third and fourth, and they're converting. Like we get a sack on first or second down and 12, and we'd stop Ryan Robinson for a -1. And I'm like, oh, well, they're going to get it on third or fourth. So 18 plays. And then one of the most interesting things on that drive, the 17th play, obviously, it's 4th and 2. And they had gone for it twice on 4th down earlier. Now they're at like our 27, and they decide to kick the field goal. Like, what was the point of going for it on all those 4th downs? And now on 4th and 2, when you're on the cusp of the red zone, you go for it. And then to only double down that decision, the first carry for us, the first play for us is Saquon 60 to the house. It's very interesting, the coaching decisions, because our head coach gets labeled a terrible head coach all the time. And yet here you are seeing Dan Quinn kick a field goal on 4th and 2 when you just went for it on 4th and 5. You ran a fake punt, you went for it on 4th and 6. Like, what was the momentum like for that? Like, was it deflating after that drive and then crazy?
I mean, it definitely was a little deflating because it felt like it just moved down the field so easily. And I'm like, oh shit, if this is the indication of what's to come, this might be, a pretty long game. But I always remained confident. I'm like, look, we haven't even seen the ball yet. I haven't even seen Jalen Hurts take a snap yet. So at that point, it was too early to tell. But then it seemed like after that first drive, we came back out and it's like we were just imposing whatever the fuck we wanted to do on that defense, and Jalen just did it. And it's just like, all right, now we're moving the ball easy. Like, I love this. So it was just weird to see how aggressive they could be. Like the the Commanders.
Canceled.
Right. Yeah. And then they go and kick that field. So it was just really weird to see. I'm like, all right, well, Dan Quinn's coming out aggressive, right? Like they were going for it on 4th down on the first drive. They had that fake punt, and I'm like, shit. Like, I'm texting my buddies. I'm like, this is so dumb. Like, how is this happening to us? And then it just flipped on its head, like absolutely just flipped on its head. I mean, it's weird. And I know I'm going deeper into the game, but it felt like by the 4th quarter, it was just like people were happy, but people had already accepted we're going to the bowl. Like it was like in the 3rd quarter, we're like, is when like the big celebration happened. In the 4th quarter, it was just like Kenny Pickett's out there, Will Shipley's out there. They got a backup out there. It just kind of felt like they tossed in the flag and that was it. So it was almost like it hit way earlier than the 4th quarter, like the victory. It was weird.
We had that last turnover in the 4th, and I was just like, you should just be like the most disrespectful thing you can do. And it was in field goal range. Just take 3 knees and kick the ball. Just be like, hey guys, like we're trying to help you out here. Like, I know there's 7 minutes left in the game, but we all know it's over.
That's why I didn't know if it was just me, because like I was at the Rams game and I'm like, I can't have another stressful game like that. Like, my heart was pounding out of my chest, and I was like, to get to this 4th quarter and feel so like relaxed, I was like, it was such a weird feeling for me.
No, I can't even imagine.
So odd. Yeah.
No, I mean, look, it really just goes back to everybody went out there and did their job. It's what they've been preaching all season long. It's what Jalen always says. It's what Nick Sirianni always says and gets ripped for. Like, just go out there, get 1% better every day. You water the flowers, you're gonna bloom, and they bloom. They sprouted through on a cold winter day, and just everyone out there and did their thing. And look, like for people that always think, talking 2-on-5, specifically me, so anti-Jalen and everything. No, we hold everybody accountable. I've talked crap about every single player on this team. I've said bad things about Jalen Carter, about a dumb penalty here or there. I've said bad, I still think Jalen Carter is one of, if not the best defensive tackle in the league. Like, I still think Jalen Hurts is one of the best NFC quarterbacks in the league. But look, main hats off to Jalen Hurts going out there and was probably the best player out on the field. I mean, Saquon Barkley is right there with him, but everything we said about the divisional game, with just zero awareness, boneheaded mistakes, having no idea of where they're at on the field and everything. Coach, I know you kind of tweeted, but again, you and I are very emotional tweeters. We're very reactionary tweeters. When he took that 1 sack right on the edge of field goal range, and it was just like, oh, there's Jalen again, just zero field awareness. And at the time, I think it was way more on, we just had a miscommunication on the O-line, and he had no chance to do literally anything. And if he tried to, it probably wouldn't been intentional grounding as the best case result. Worst case is a turnover. But getting rid of the ball, tucking and running, being smart, keeping the ball safe, taking shots when you needed to, running the ball, just doing everything. He had a near flawless game.
Oh, after that tweet, like he played like a Super Bowl MVP.
Oh, well, thank you
then. There you go. No, I just, obviously I'm a very emotional tweeter, as Jake said. And, the next day after rewatching the game, after I calm down a little bit, I'll go, call myself out for my bad tweets or, my reactionary tweets. It is what it is. I'm the emotional, I'm a Philly fan. It is what it is. I don't hide away from that, but I get a little, I guess you could say, not upset with Jalen, but I get frustrated talking about the Eagles because people think like I'm too hard on Jalen Hurts. But if you've ever listened to our episodes, like I'm one of the biggest Jalen Hurts fans on the planet. But
yeah,
like Jake was just pointing out, I've seen elite play from this guy. I've seen elite decision making. I've seen him outduel Patrick Mahomes in his prime on the biggest stage in football. I've seen him look like Cam Newton running the football, Peyton Manning throwing it. I've seen him just look like the most incredible player in football, an MVP runner-up. I've seen this. And so that's, I guess, why I get so frustrated sometimes is it's kind of like a kid who doesn't study for a test but is super smart and he gets like a B- or a C+. And like, you didn't apply yourself. I know you're smart. I know you can do this. You have it in you. Just do it.
Wow, what a dad.
You know what I'm saying? No, but I think that's why I get frustrated sometimes because I'm like, Jalen, I know you're elite. Turn it on. And when he threw that touchdown to AJ, instead of being his like Mr. Miyagi Zen, like there was some F-bombs being thrown out. He was fist pumping. He was flexing. He went up to AJ and they were face to face, like helmet to helmet. And I was like, okay, all right. Like, yeah, there's nothing you could do, Washington.
Look, that's the difference between Philly fans and Dallas fans. Like, we don't cope and make excuses for quarterback. We see perfection, and then you know what? We demand that every week. Like, we're not okay with just like, oh, well, Dak Prescott's stats, if you look at him, he's a top 5 quarterback. Yeah, and he doesn't do shit every single year. Like, I don't care. At the end of the day, the only thing I care about is the score at the end of the game.
Yeah.
Like, we don't care how you get in the end zone. Like, Coach, you always say you can moonwalk backwards, you can stumble, you can roll, you can have the ball just fall out of the sky and somehow land. Like, I do not care. The only thing I care about is getting points on the board and having more points than the other team at the end of the game. But I still want Jalen Hurts to go out there and play like a phenomenal quarterback because we've seen it. And when you see it once, you know he has the potential to do it. So now I want him to do it every single game. And when I call him out for mistakes that he makes, it doesn't mean I don't love him. It means that, hey, I know you are arguably the best player in the NFL. And right now, you're not. Go out there and change. Do it. Get back to that level.
Absolutely.
I was even saying it throughout the game because, again, having been there for the Rams game and then having been there for this game, it's like, you guys probably saying, like, ditch it. See another day, right? Just toss it away. You're in pressure. And I feel like he did that so well this game in comparison to the last game. Granted, the elements, the this, the that, the knee, all that. I feel like he did so well doing that. I'm just like, ditch it. And you think he can hear you, but he doesn't. But like, it's like, oh shit, all right, he did it. Thank God. Like, and he took that one bad sack, like you guys said, but just night and day, the difference between the Rams game and this game, just two completely different quarterback. That elite level quarterback that you guys were talking about, we saw it on display. It was unreal.
No, it was wild. And look, let me talk to you, Chris, about this. I mean, shout out to the Dogs. Shout out to the Philly Dawgs. I mean, from last year to this year, everybody going out there. Like, I have the snap count in front of me here. Like, another thing that surprised me is yet again, Jordan Davis sat there at 13 snaps. And we talked about it last week or 2 weeks ago. It's like they found this low teens snap count that you're like shocked that he's only out there that much, but then you feel like he's only out there 13 snaps. You're like, there's no way, because I saw him make 7 big plays. Like, he's being impactful every time he's out on the field. So it's like, why change if it's working? And then Jalen Carter's out there 90% of the game, just wreaking havoc all game long.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that JD sack, dude, I got so hyped. Jordan Davis on that sack. It was down my way in the end zone, right? Because we were on like the 10, 20 yard line down there. and he just came firing out of a cannon, dude. And it was just, I got so hyped, right? I get hyped for my guys, right? And we all knew that, Jalen Carter was the real deal, essentially from the jump, right? But these other guys, right, like a Nolan Smith, a Jordan Davis, and Nakobe Dean, there was a lot of doubt. And it's so rewarding to see it play out the way that it's playing out. And it's so satisfying to see them doing this all together and just playing at that level, that caliber is just, it's crazy, man. I just can't believe it. And Nolan Smith, most postseason sacks of any Eagle ever.
Yeah, most solo or most period?
In a single postseason, I think it is.
In a single postseason. Yeah, to clarify, yeah.
No, just incredible. The jump he's made, Coach and I talked about it a couple of weeks ago when we said, like, hey, who's the biggest surprise in a good way on this Eagles team from last year to this year? And I said, it's probably between Nakobe Dean and Nolan Smith. But two guys, one guy that was a first round, everybody wanted him and really had a pretty bad year. But we had a little bit of hope at the end of the year where you're like, all right, I saw a little flash of something, but still nothing close to a first round player. And then Nakobe Dean, who, you listen to this podcast, I was all but out on him. I was all but, look, I'd be surprised if he makes the team. He's going to be a fringe guy to go out. And again, you deal with these injuries every year with him, which is a real shame. But when he was out there, was a damn near Pro Bowl linebacker. He was blitzing. He was back in coverage. He was making open field tackles. He was just out there playing football, where I always felt like he had concrete cleats the first 2 years, and he was just standing there like a deer in the headlights. It's like the first play Vince Papale makes in Invincible, where he's there and he's like, the guy, where's he going to go? And then he gets blasted. And he went out there and just was playing football this year. But I still gotta say the answer is what we gave a month ago. Nolan Smith is the biggest, insane jump from 1 year to the next. I mean, he's out playing as a top tier defensive end right now.
Not only that about Nolan Smith is one thing that's crazy about this Eagles defensive line that just blows my mind. That's a little bit different in years past. And in years past, you'd have like a 7-8 man rotation, right? Like just boom, churning them. Now you're having games where Jalen Carter, a defensive tackle, is playing 98 to 100% of the snaps. Now you have times where you see the only two pass rushers on the field are Nolan Smith and Josh Sweat. And now with Josh Sweat getting a little banged up during the game, it's Jalen Hunt and Nolan Smith because Brandon Graham's hurt, and you're not really getting much out of Bryce Huff unless
Bryce Huff got 13 snaps. It's a hell of a lot more than the one he got the week before.
I will say it was cool to see Bryce Huff get a half a sack or a sack, whatever it is, and he did like Nolan Smith's sack dance. Like I saw somebody tweet that shows me he's still engaged. He's still like one of the boys. He's still doing that.
No, and he was only there a little bit, but I remember seeing Zero go and like kind of bust through a little bit. And Jaden's got to get down. He was doing some good stuff.
You see 58 way in there, way more.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I think that's a testament to like DNs that are rushing up field like bat out of hell every play to play that many snaps. Nolan Smith, Jalen Carter, like to play that many snaps. We know Jordan Davis is who Jordan Davis is, right? Mm-hmm. I think the fewer snaps he plays, the fresher he is, the stronger he is, the better he is. So I get that philosophy, but those other guys, man, they're not coming off the field, and that's rare.
Yeah, and shout out Shane Haff. He pointed out, he was talking about how big of a jump that Nolan Smith has made as an edge rusher getting after the quarterback. But then he showed a whole thing saying that he's also doing a phenomenal job in the run game. He's doing a really good job of reacting immediately to, all right, I'm changing my target from the quarterback to the running back and just dive bombing on him and stuffing him. I mean, it seemed like Brian Robinson couldn't get more than a yard or two every single run. And when you have Nolan Smith, like you said, out there 75-80% of the game, he's making a lot of these plays. And Shane Haff did a good job showing a lot of the film, saying that he's just really breaking on these guys, making the good tackles, just kind of tying them up to allow the bigger guy to come and finish the job. Just a lot of great complimentary football going on out there.
Absolutely. It's great to see, man.
Yeah. No, and you just got so much heart out there with this team. Landon Dickerson out there playing on one leg. You know, you got Cam Jurgens going out there tossing the guy on the Jalen Hurts rushing touchdown. He threw him back 5 yards. And when you see like all this tension and torque in his back, and you know it was hurting him because he wouldn't not start a game. Like he wanted to be out there so bad. There's so many times where the camera showed him going up to Landon and be like, hey man, you know, you hop out, like let me in there. And Landon's like, no, I got it. Like
they were arguing on the sideline over like
they're
it's
both
like when one of your boys is almost like calling you out and you're like, bitch, I'm in. I got it. Like, don't question me. And they were fighting on who was going to go in. Like, no, I'll be the one to die out there. Like, okay. Jake, shout out those guys like Landon and Cam. Like, you talk about, I know we could dissect what the most important positions are in football, right? We know quarterback, obviously. If Hurts isn't out there, the game looks extremely different. We've seen it against Washington this year with Kenny Pickett. But, man, the center, for those that aren't like into the game that in depth, you're talking about line calls, you're talking about audibles, protections, assignments, doubles, all this stuff. And one of the things you saw, Landon did mess up a couple times, and it might have been on the Jalen Hurts sack out of field goal range, is like my assignment on a zero blitz is a lot different under center than it is at guard, than it is at right guard, left guard. So not only is he having to get a clean snap back there, and his first step is a little bit different because it's a snap instead of just a kickback. But now your audibles, now your keys, now your hots, now your line, everything is so different. And one of the things I observed that was crazy to me, and I can't believe Hurts did this, but it ended up working out. The first damn play of the game, guys, Hurts is under center. Then he audibles to shotgun. And then he audibles back to under center. And I'm thinking to myself, this is Landon's first snap, Jalen. Like, let's not go center, shotgun, center, confusing the shit out of him. And then lo and behold, it's a toss to Barkley. He takes it 60 to the house. But it just shows you the value of one, heart, character, determination, but also coaching. Like, these guys are so damn well coached. It's insane. It's absolutely insane how well coached they are. I think back to training camp where Quinyon Mitchell was training as the nickel because either Bradbury or Rodgers was going to be outside with Slay. And then Rodgers got hurt before the first game to Brazil. We were like, what's going on? And then all of a sudden, boom, he's starting on the outside, never let it go. I think about Coop, who probably was outside, safety, nickel, working all over the place. Now he's your starting nickel, having to go. You look at Landon, who hasn't snapped since college, having to start at center in the NFC Championship game, guys. Like, you look at Britton Covey is out, and now Coop has to get back there, returning punts too. Like, all these guys are doing different things and stepping up, and it's just, what do we have to do to win? I'll do it.
No, I mean, let me shout out one guy that, this would be you start the year. If you had told me at the end of the year that I'm singing Michael Clay's praises, I'd have said you're nuts. I mean, every coach.
I wanted him fired after the fake punt, but I was a little drunk, but.
Yeah, no, that was one where you're like, look, if they're calling stuff out on a punt, they're not kicking it.
Are we all crazy for seeing that where they audibled to like the fake punt and nobody on our team moved? Did you all see that?
They're all like, oh, they're just talking to each other. Like, what? And I'm like, they're obvious. I'm sitting here. I'm like, they're not punting it. Nobody's saying it. What are they saying? Hey, guys, we're still punting it, by the way. Like, you're not calling shit out at the punting line on assignments. Like, they're not on block. You saw the one guy kind of fake, like, oh, I might block it. Then he went out as a gunner what do they call it? Like the gun stopper or whatever. And it's like, all right, so they're not calling out like, oh, they're trying to block it. Somebody should have realized, hey, they're probably throwing this.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, Tress Way has more passing yards than Tony Romo and Dak Prescott combined in an NFC Championship game. So shout out Tress Way.
Yeah.
Shout out
just bring up another name too, because when Nakobe went down, my guy Nakobe, I was pretty heartbroken by that, and I'm like, this is gonna hurt, right, moving forward. But Oren Burks,
I heard a lot of Oren Burks slander when Nakobe went down. I heard a lot of slander.
If I was on the episode, I probably would have done the same, just because I was upset about Nakobe. But talk about a guy that stepped into a role, and like, have we really felt the impact of that? Like, of course, we're missing Nakobe, right? I mean, he was a great player, had a great season. him and Vaughn just going at it together. But Burks has stepped in and stepped up, and I just love to see it.
Even after Fangio kind of not disrespected him, but kind of hinted like, hey, you might see Trot out there. When they're like, hey, you're gonna see Trot, and be like, yeah, you might see him start.
Yeah.
And it's like, because Vic is a guy that's always, he says it how it is. He's never hiding anything. He doesn't hide his feelings. He talked about Bryce Huff needing to work his way into rotation. He talked about Q being incredible. He talked about guys not doing well. Like, he'll just kind of say it how it is. So you hear that and you were like, oh man, like they're just tossing Oren Burks to the side. It's going to be Jeremiah Trotter, which would be cool, but we're all kind of nervous about it because he's a guy that fell to the 5th round for a reason. And then Oren Burks was just like, nah, we're good. Like, I got you. Forcing fumbles, making tackles, defending passes, rushing the quarterback.
When Nakobe got hurt and Burks had to just jump in, Burks looked bad. Kind of like a on-the-fly type thing. But when he's had practices to prepare as the starter now for these last 2 weeks against the Rams and against who we just played, Washington, when he's actually been in the meeting rooms as a starter and not like taking backup reps or whatever, like he's, like you said, I think he has like a fumble recovery and a forced fumble, a sack. Like he was all over the place. And there was a play that like probably won't get talked about much, but Washington called, they were down by like 19 at this point in the third quarter, I think maybe 17, but Washington called what looked to be a beautiful screen to Eckler where they had like 4 linemen out in front. And I was like, oh shit, this one might have potential. And Burks was the only guy there, knifed through 2 offensive linemen, stopped Eckler for like a 1-yard gain. And I was like, is that 42? Like, is that Burks? Like, what is I was like, who is that? So shout out to him for just assuming that role. Obviously we missed Nakobe. We'd rather have Nakobe, but I mean, he's relished the moment in the 2 games he's been a starter.
Today's episode is brought to you by White Glove Car Wash. Wintertime is coming, and you know what that means. Salt and brine on the roads. The leaves are going to start falling. You're going to have crap all over your car in no time. There's no better place to get it spick and span than a White Glove Car Wash. Now offering unlimited packages starting as low as $25 a month. You can go and get your car washed as many times as you want, so you can get any level of car enthusiast in your life the best gift that they can ask for. The ability to go daily and get that little perfect car of theirs clean, spick, and span. White Glove Car Wash with locations in Delaware, Pennsylvania, and New Jersey. You are never too far from the glove. All you have to do is ask your phone, take me to White Glove Car Wash, and your phone is going to direct you to the best car wash in the tri-state area. Let them know that Talkin 215 sent you. Now, Coach, were you on the episode with Sean and I when we talked about, like, you see it's these guys thrust in the middle of the game. They always play, or they almost always play pretty poorly, but give them the week knowing they're going to be the guy out there before we really judge. Were you on that episode? Because we were talking about Oren Burks, about how bad he looked.
I don't think I was. No, I'm not sure.
Okay. Yeah, Sean and I were talking about how bad Oren Burks looked in the week he was thrust into that role. But we kind of said, hey, we've said this all the time. We said about Halapoulivaati Vaitai. Yeah, he got tossed in there when Jason Peters. When Jason Peters got ruled out, and we were just like, damn, like this sucks. Like we lost so many guys before that run. We lost Carson Wentz right there. Like, and I was like, oh, and left tackle, such a huge position. But then for the rest of the postseason, when he knew he was being the starter, he was played pretty damn well. And you saw it with a lot of different guys, and you see it all the time. With tackles, Lane Johnson past couple of years has missed a game or 2 randomly, and you had
Driscoll, Fred Johnson.
Yeah, Jack Driscoll go out there, and then they're like, all right, no, we're going to move Jordan Mailata over to right tackle, which, again, we talk about coaching and how well coached this team is. Like that's such a difficult thing to do because your plant leg is different. Your everything is different. You're playing a mirror. Like we all talk about, Mario Kart. There's a reason why mirror mode is the most difficult mode. It's not 150cc. Mirror mode's the most difficult because you're so used to one thing, and then everything's opposite. And that's what he was doing out there. So it just falls back on this team for years has had some of the best coaching that you can get out there. And you're seeing it come to fruition with top tier talent. And we were worried about defensive coordinator, and we realized, we got the bottom of the barrel in Sean Desai last year because we were some of the last teams to hire anybody. and then we go out there, get the guy we want, and we go from bottom 3 defense in the NFL to 1 across almost every category.
Yeah, I will say this about Burks too is don't go back and look at last year's Super Bowl where he had to fill in for Dre Greenlaw, because that's some of the worst probably linebacker tape you'll see. Not just necessarily in game. Do you remember Travis Kelce just going ape shit in the second half? There's a reason why. And it was because of Burks. However, that's the scenario we're talking about, right? Thrust in there at the last second versus time to prepare.
Yeah.
So I highly doubt someone as smart as Vic would be like, "Oh, Burks, you're on Kelce all game." Like, no, it's not going to happen. So.
No, and we're going to talk a ton about the upcoming matchup. But this is just the Birds are bowl bound episode. We're just praising this team, looking at the entire season, everything coming together, giving everybody their dues, and getting hyped for the game because we got next week to talk about the matchup. I feel pretty confident. That's all I'm going to really say. You know, I'll have another video coming out as well. But no.
How about a shout out, boys? A Talkin 215 shout out to Will Shipley.
Shout out Will
Shipley. First of all, I didn't even realize it, but Gainwell left the game with a concussion or concussion-like symptoms.
Yep.
Could he have returned? They said maybe, but at that point in the game, you don't really, need to push it.
No, he took a shot too.
Yeah,
he got
but
cracked.
Shipley was the first person to touch the ball for the Eagles and had a 40-yard kick return, setting us up there for the Saquon 60-yard touchdown. Then he forced a fumble on the kickoff.
On the kicker's off, yeah.
On the kickoff, which we recovered, and we scored 7 points off. Then he scored a touchdown at the end of the game. So he had a touchdown, a forced fumble, and a 40-yard kick return. And this is a...
You know how many players have a forced fumble and a touchdown in the postseason?
Probably not many.
Will Shipley.
Wow. There you go. I mean, just little things like that, man. Like just
or in a rushing touchdown. Like there's been like scoop and scores. You know what I mean? Like
think about earlier in the season. Goedert went out, right? And all of a sudden, Calcaterra wasn't putting up 100-yard games, but there'd be like a 3rd and 9, and all of a sudden
he'd have like 6 catches, and all of them were 20-yard catches on 3rd or 4th down.
Yeah. It was just clutch stuff like that. Like you said earlier, Lane Johnson going down, Fred Johnson or stepping in too. Mailata went down, Fred went over there as well. I mean, you could just go across the board of guys stepping in and playing ball, and just it's next man up mentality. I understand exists in sports, but when you buy into a system, when you buy into a scheme, when you buy into a family and a team, you almost don't notice it. Like Chris, you were just talking about like Burks there, and I was like, "Who's that?" Burks. Like that was a great play. Holy shit, that's Burks. Like,
yeah. Now somebody at the party I was having was like, "Who's 42?"
we do it all the time with guys like that. It's awesome to see.
Watching that Shipley touch, he's running away from us at the game, right? And I don't know if it looked like this on TV, but it was just so funny in person. You could tell he hit his top miles per hour, right? He was hauling ass, but he started, I'm going to go sideways. He started like arching his back, running. And I'm like, he's like trying to will his body as hard as he could to run as fast as it was just such a funny look. Like me and my dad were like mimicking him. It's like just hauling ass, dude. Oh my God.
Hey, shout out him. He right when he looked up at the Jumbotron or something and he knew they were coming in, and you saw him hug that ball. You saw him like, you're not getting it.
I also think part of him was like, I'm supposed to be tackled like within a couple seconds of touching this, but wait. Like I'm still running. Like what's going on? And then you kind of like burn yourself out. But it was cool to see, man. Yeah.
No, I think he got more like honestly, he's an NFL running back, a rookie. Like he's got a lot in the tank. I think he just heard a footstep or something, was like, I cannot fumble this ball. Yeah. I think if you like was a second year guy or had more opportunities, he'd have been like, they're not catching me. Like, I'm taking it right to the house. I think he just got like, I'm in the NFC Championship game. I'm about to bust one. But oh, never mind. They're right on me. I can't fumble this. And just kind of let up, hugged the ball, and just kind of went down. Because I was thinking, there's no way this guy at 20, 21 years old is out of gas on his first like carry of a game. Like, no, I think he just got a little bit scared. Was like, no, I can't fumble on this stage. I don't care that we're up 30. I don't care. Like, I'm going down, and I'm just going down with 2 hands on the ball.
Yeah, he had.
And Saquon's reaction too.
Saquon was going nuts.
It's just so.
Saquon was the first guy in the end zone. He beat Will Shipley to the end zone on his own rushing touchdown.
Everyone looked genuinely like over the moon for him too.
Oh yeah.
Oh no, you see it like when Grant caught his touchdown, everybody went nuts early in the season. When Anais Smith caught his, when Johnny Wilson caught his, like everybody was going nuts. This team is just such a brotherhood. And it's just nuts that you see so much hate from like other like Twitter teams, like on whatever Twitter, on like obviously you're gonna see it in the NFC East, but like all the hate nationwide, like, oh, this is gonna be the worst Super Bowl. It's the two teams everybody hates. I'm like, how can you hate this team? Like, yeah, maybe they beat your ass, like, but they're just so likable. There's nobody on the team that you're just like, oh, screw that guy. Like, they're all friends, they're all having fun. They're rarely going out there like taunting, taking cheap shots, doing crazy shit, and it's just so much fun to watch.
I saw somebody put out it was kind of like what you're saying, Jake. They put out a tweet or kind of like writing that said, for everybody that talks about the Eagles, you know, we have a knucklehead, bonehead head coach. We have a running back at quarterback that can't throw. We have a 34-year-old corner that's past his prime. And stuff like that. And they're just talking about, like, you have Saquon, who's going to be the same Saquon that he was with the Giants and everything like that. For all this, and Kellen Moore, who was shipped out of Dallas and shipped out of the Chargers, for all that crap y'all say we have, and we're just beating the shit out of everyone, hanging 60 in the NFC Championship game, about to go, like, maybe your assessments are off. Maybe Sirianni is a good coach. Maybe Hurts is a good quarterback. Maybe Slay is playing the best ball of his career right now. You know, maybe Kellen Moore's in his bag. Like, but you guys just want to sit there and say, oh, they're terrible. The coach and quarterback are going to hold them back. We could have scored 60. We called the dogs off.
Yeah. Now, when we have two Dallas Goedert jet sweeps, we're in our bag.
Yeah.
When they were running, I'm like, what is this coming out of no? I haven't seen this all season. Like,
Kellen, save some of that, brother. We got one more game. Save some of that.
Bro. If Jordan Mailata,
I know we can't
gets the ball in space,
we can't, Jake. Can you imagine this? Chris was saying about how packed the city was. If it's a crucial point in the game and Mailata has the ball and he fumbles and we lose,
he can't. He literally has the largest hands. Has the largest hands in the NFL.
That's fine.
I don't think
he did too. I mean, he can catch a football.
You get handed the ball. I don't think there's anything that can take it out of his hands.
I don't want to. I mean,
stop. You're a hater.
You have Saquon Barkley. You have Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, and look. When I'm not like when we're in a situation. Okay, we have Saquon Barkley. We did a jet sweep to Dallas Goedert, and we all loved it.
Yeah, Dallas Goedert is not Jordan Mailata.
Okay, you're right. Jordan Mailata can chuck somebody. Oh, Dallas Goedert kind of was chucking dudes around that game. Let's be honest.
It's cool to think about, but I don't know if my anxiety could handle. I would just be screaming, get down, go down, please get down.
Yeah,
something.
No, he's going to be chucking dudes. Are you kidding me? You get that ball. Look, he's. I would say it's easier to hold a smaller ball. Like, would you say, Chris, it's easier to hold and maintain a smaller ball or a larger ball?
A smaller ball.
Okay.
I think logically, yeah,
have you ever seen and held a rugby ball? Shit's big.
No, I've never held one.
No, shit's big. My
But
brother
Jake,
plays
rugby.
rugby.
They're not trying to force a fumble. They're not trying to strip you.
Yeah, they are. If you knock the ball out, if you knock the ball out and the ball goes forward, it's called a knock.
Yeah,
and that's automatic turnover. Automatic. It doesn't matter who recovers it. Automatic turnover. So they're trying to force that ball out. They're not trying to just tackle a guy. They're trying to get him to the ground. But if you get the ball out and it goes forward, that's a knock. It automatically goes to the other team. So they're not trying to force the ball. Yeah, they are. They're trying to smack that shit out there.
Everyone that plays rugby touches the ball, has a chance to touch the ball, has a chance to do something with it. So they are practiced and skilled in touching that ball and running with it. Jordan Mailata, Lane Johnson, those guys, they don't touch the football.
Jordan Mailata has touched a rugby ball many, many times. It's like it's probably easier than riding a bike. Like, you're talking about something that's literally held in his hands. Like, when you hear, oh, it's like riding a bike. No, it's like running a football. The guy can run and he can carry a ball that's nearly twice the size. You give him a football and say, run, Mailata's going to run. And he's not he's running through people.
Fumbles happen.
Somebody might die.
if we're up 4 scores, it's a good time to give my lot of
that's so disrespectful. That's so disrespectful. I don't care what the time opportunity
is.
Is
to break out of my lot of pass in the Super Bowl.
No, I'm not saying a pass. I'm not saying a pass. Maybe a pitch, a lateral, if you will, like in rugby. Maybe a laugh. No, I'm just messing with you. But look, we're talking about praising this coaching staff. If they believe that there is an opportunity that they think it's the best time to run that play, I'm going to trust them a hell of a lot more than I'm trusting myself. Or if they feel as though it's never the opportunity, then again, I'm going to trust them. But I'm saying if that's something they even have in the playbook on the 85th page, it's in. I want Kellen Moore to just kind of have it as is this an opportunity for us to run that play? Because if he scores it, I mean, we already saw the tweet that I put out, and I put an Instagram post out where I put like, hey, if Jordan Mailata scores a touchdown in the Super Bowl, I'll do whatever the top comment says within reason. Like, I'm not going to Thailand and learning MMA, people. Like, let's stop. Let's be reasonable here. I'm not adopting a monkey. Whoever put that one in there, like, I don't even think that's legal, but I'll do whatever the top comment is within reason. And I want to. I would love Jordan Mailata to score a touchdown in the Super Bowl.
Oh yeah,
So
trust me. If Jordan Mailata scoring, it's good.
What's it called, Jake? We had the Philly special, right? It's cemented in history. What's this play called?
I mean,
put you on the spot here.
If you want to keep the special, you got the Samoan special, you got the the Aussie slam, the classic, the thunder from down under. Like that's not anything creative at all. You can do touchdown under.
That's good. I like touchdown under.
That's not bad at all. Touchdown under. We get the touchdown under. Why not?
Copyright that thing before goes crazy.
Why not? Look, we already put out a teaser. Like, should we bring the M-Hop shirts back? I don't know. Whatever the fans want.
Bring out any shirt we want if and when we win this Super Bowl. I'm telling you right now. Like, there's I thought about this today too. And
Jordan Mailata Super Bowl MVP.
I mean, think about it. We have a chance that our 2 Super Bowl, how some Super Bowls people are like, oh, they're fluky, like, oh, the Patriots beat the Rams 10-3 or whatever it was that one year, or like,
what a terrible
when Seattle threw the interception at the 1-yard line and the Patriots win, that's fluky. I'm telling you right now, if our 2 Super Bowls are against prime Tom Brady and prime Pat Mahomes, there's not shit you could ever tell me as an opposing fan ever about my championships, how we won them, when we won them, what it took to win them. It'll go down in the history books as Pat Mahomes and Tom Brady losing to the Eagles. And I don't know if there will be a greater championship in any sport than we beat probably 2 of the greatest of all time in their prime in the biggest game ever. And it was done by 2 quarterbacks who were originally backups on the team that they played for. That's insane.
No, it's wild. Not only two quarterbacks, 2 of the all-time coaches. We beat Andy Reid and we beat Bill Belichick. We're going to go and again, we're going to have to see what happens in 2 weeks. Again, I feel confident. We're going to talk about it next week in more depth. But you can't say anything. And it's like, it's funny how it's fallen where, 2004 was the last Super Bowl that we were at before 2017. Saw the Patriots then, saw the Patriots in 2017, 2022, saw the Chiefs, 2024, 25, seeing the Chiefs. Look, all I'm saying is patterns are a thing.
They are.
And we see a little bit of a pattern here. That's all I'm saying.
I would love to see the pattern of the last point scored. The last time we won the Super Bowl was Jake Elliott. I would love to see the last point scored again.
Look, and for everybody slandering Jake Elliott, all he did was guarantee a win. You understand that? That's he missed that kick on purpose, because any postseason game in which Jake Elliott has missed a kick, they've won. So he was just like, you know what? I understand my streak. Fox had it at 22 in a row. I'm pretty sure it was 23 in a row. I'm pretty sure it was 23 for 23. I think my stats are better than theirs. I got good guys over here talking 2-5. And he said, you know what? I'm not going to be selfish. I'm not going to go for 24 straight in the postseason. I'm going to miss this kick. and it's going to guarantee that we win this game. That's all he was doing. He's doing a selfless act.
Sure. Yeah.
They're undefeated in games that he's missed a kick in the postseason.
That's great.
They're 5-0.
He's Aaron Nola of Rav 4th inning right now.
Well, no, every other year he's bad. Look, I've said it on the past 5 podcasts. If you look at his stats, every other year.
I don't think this is just bad. I think this is, even a couple of those extra points, I was like,
yeah. Well, unfortunately, they met with Miami kicker, whatever his name is, who was the runner-up the past 2 years for the best kicker in the.
We're gonna have to start scouting kickers, honestly.
Yeah, so I think Jake's gonna be fine. I understand they have to do their job, so they did.
It'll all be erased. You can miss 75 field goals in a row if you make every damn one of them, including the game winner in the Super Bowl. All's forgiven. Like,
oh yeah,
that's just 100%. How it works.
Indoors, in a perfect scenario, I still trust him from 56 out.
No.
Okay.
You don't afraid on the season.
Yeah. What is it? 1 for 8 for real?
Yeah. After that game, 1 for 8, 50 plus.
Don't matter. How many of those were outdoors in crappy environment? No, give him the Mega Dome, whatever they call it, the Super Dome.
You guys ever see those memes on social
56,
media?
57.
Whatever your platform is that you're on, you see memes on social media. It's like find you a man that is as loyal as this, or like girls don't settle for less. It's like find you somebody that is as loyal to Jake Elliott as Jake is right now. Like,
it's the Jake.
No, it's not the Jake thing. We've gone through the gambit. We've gone through the gambit of awful kickers. We had David Akers, one of the greatest kickers in Philadelphia history, and then we went what was his name? Something Henry.
Alex Henry. And then we had Cody Parkey. And then we had another Henry. And then we had just everybody. And they all sucked. They all were terrible. And we finally was good and is good for another team right now.
Dicker the kicker. Yeah. We had him for 1 game. Don't even. Look,
I love more than 1 game. Stop it right now.
Cameron Dicker kicked 1 game for the Eagles?
Let's get our crack staff on.
No, and I if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. And I loved the game he played. He kicked incredibly that game. I believe he kicked 1 game. We put him back to our practice squad, but because he went 5 for 5 in that game, he was then immediately snagged by another team. And he's an incredible kicker. He's a top 5 kicker in the NFL right now. Shout out Cameron Dicker. I'm a big kicker guy. There's a reason why there's a reason why I'm blocked by Aaron Sippis' brother. He's a punter, if you don't recall, Aaron Sippis, and I did not like him. And I wanted to be proven wrong every day. And the tweet that I sent back to him was, look, I would be the happiest guy in the world if your brother came out next game and was the best punter in the NFL. But you know what the stats tell me? He's 37th in the NFL in average punt distance, and there's only 32 fucking teams. So he's
you're right about Cameron
every
Dicker.
Other starter, and he's worse than 4 of the backups. I was right about Cameron Dicker, wasn't I?
You were.
Yeah, he played 1 game.
Kicking analysis.
And he went 4 for 4, 5 for 5. He had an incredible game. They put him back on the practice squad, and he's immediately taken, as he should be. And he's a great kicker. Jake Elliott is a great kicker who's in for whatever reason, some kind of a funk. Probably because I wasn't at training camp this year. Thanks, Philadelphia. I was at it last year. I don't think he missed a kick all training camp. He was out there going nuts.
He's been less than ideal.
He's been bad. He's been very, very bad. Again, though, look, Chris, you are out there. Miserable conditions in the divisional game. Miserable.
Oh yeah.
Those 3 field goals were incredible.
Yeah. No.
If you want to say those field goals were incredible, then you can't be super mad about him missing 2 extra points. Because you can't say, oh, they're incredible. No, you can't be like, oh, wow, it's a miracle he made these field goals, and then be like, oh, well, how did he miss extra points? Okay, so like if that was a 38-yard field goal and he missed it, you'd be like, oh, well, in these conditions, nothing's a guarantee. But just because
he's like shooting 50% is what my point is. Like,
no, he missed 2 extra points. He made 3 field goals, so he was more than 50%.
Okay, here's a trivia question for you. When's the last game that the Eagles have played that he hasn't missed at least 1 kick, extra point or field goal?
I couldn't tell you. Probably one that he didn't attempt an extra point or field goal.
Neither can I. He's missed at least 1.
He's been bad. I told you, he's been terrible. He's been very, very bad. But I don't believe that he's either has some kind of weird injury or it's just a bad year, because I don't believe he can just be like, oh, wow, he was arguably the best kicker in the NFL last season. Arguably. He missed 2 field goals, one of which was blocked, which, again, I don't put on the kicker. So he arguably missed 1 field goal last year and was incredible. And then you don't just go to then being a bottom 5 kicker in the NFL. And if you look around the league, almost everybody had a bad year kicking other than Cameron Dicker.
I agree with that.
Young Ho, terrible year.
The Pittsburgh kicker, I think, was pretty good.
Yeah, he was damn good. He's the best. Yeah, I think he had the most points on their team. I mean, but Pittsburgh also sucks. Yeah. But no, he was very good. Boswell, he was very good. Cameron Dicker was very good. Justin Tucker, terrible. What's his name for the Young Ho for the Falcons? Who is the Texans kicker?
Kaimi
Fairbairn, terrible.
Yeah.
He had the worst year of his career. It was a weird year for kickers. And he just fell into that vortex. He fell into the Bermuda Triangle of kickers this year. There's something going on, Illuminati. I don't know what it is, but Jake Elliott got picked this year. But again, I have all the faith in the world that he's going to do great in the Super Bowl. And if he does miss a point in the Super Bowl, all it means is we're going to win. That's it. I hope he does. I
would not be as confident if I see him miss a kick in the Super Bowl. I will not be like, oh, that's okay.
Hey,
we're gonna win that.
5-0 in games he's missed kick. As long as that kick isn't down 1 with 1 second left in the game.
What was the reaction at home regarding the tush push, Frankie Louvu hopping the line, refs giving us a touchdown? What was the reaction like?
I got 10 people that will confirm this. Before they came out there and said what the official said, I said, like when they saw like when he jumped it the third time, I like jokingly gave the ref voice and I was like, we have decided to award Philadelphia the touchdown after repeated penalties. And then he said that and we were all like, ah! We're like, oh yeah. Like
I've never heard of that rule in my life. I mean, never. And the stadium, I heard it on the broadcast. It exploded, and it really did, because it was like we started booing Louvu. Like, it's like, come on, get the fucking show on the road here. Let us just get the touchdown and move the fuck on. The stadium exploded when the ref said that. It was unreal.
Yeah, and I mean, like, who has ever watched tape and thought, you know what? If I leave the ground, it'll have a benefit in stopping somebody.
Yeah. My wife was telling me that
especially when you're Frankie Louvu.
It's not gonna help. Yeah, like it's low man wins and the tush.
Like Josh
Allen one that people were like, oh, he got it, he didn't get it, whatever. He might have not gotten it, but it was because he was 6 feet off the ground. Like, get low, Josh. Get that leverage. Drive.
Right.
You're not going to get a yard being up here.
I've never heard that rule though before ever in my life.
Yeah,
but it makes sense. It makes sense.
And from watching it at home, was it that they were just doing it to get us to stop to do the push, like, or was it legitimate? Like, he was just trying to time it? Because like I saw some things afterwards where he kind of had a smile on his face. He was like sticking out his tongue, and I'm like, was he just doing this to be like,
I think
guys are going to let you run this shit? Like,
I think he had this smile on his face. You ever done something real stupid in front of buddies and all, and you got to act like, I was just playing. I was just messing around. Like, I wasn't being like, I think he was embarrassed and was just like, I'm just kidding. I did it again. You didn't think I was going to do it again, did you? I did that on purpose. No, he was a dumbass. Like, he jumped. He was trying to be perfect. I think it was, and they have that penalty for that reason. Like, huge moment in the game. You're thinking like, oh, you know what? The worst thing that can happen is they move from 1 foot to 6 inches. Like, I'm going to keep jumping this because there's a chance that if I get it perfect, I'll catch them off guard. I'll force a fumble. That's why you have that rule, because it's so stupid when you have that half the distance and all. Like, my dad always said for years, and I think this is a rule that I'm shocked is not in the NFL. Like, when it's, let's say the offense has the ball on their 1 yard line, so they got to get to the 11. And they commit a penalty, and it's like half the distance to the goal, replay first down. It's like, all right, so now it's 1st and 10.5. No, they should have you add 5 yards to now the line yard to gain. And so it's the kind of the opposite of that. So where it's like, we're going to keep doing it, because what are they going to do? It's you can get infinitely closer to the goal line without going to the goal line. And if we get it just right and we time it as soon as they snap the ball, we can probably force a fumble. And I think that's what they were trying to do. Hey, if we let them score here, the game is over. We're going to try everything we can to get it just right, because we've seen him the play before. He kind of bobbled it, and they're like, we're going to try to get this just right. And it screwed him because the Eagles realized what they're doing, and they had no intention of ever snapping the ball.
Well, I saw all over Twitter, like, and Chris, I don't know if you saw this too, but like everybody from different fan bases, people were just bitching about the tush push. We're like, well, I'm so sick of
Everybody.
this. I'm so tired of seeing it. And I was just thinking to myself,
And
you're
close your eyes.
tired of seeing it because Luvu keeps jumping off sides like a maniac. Like, first of all,
Mhm.
they're like, it can't be stopped. This is stupid. And I'm like, they stopped it last quarter. We went for
Right.
2 from the 1 yard line and they stopped it.
Yeah.
So what are y'all talking about? Like,
If it's unstoppable, why doesn't 31 other teams do it?
that is a great point. But also, too, here's one thing: people are like, it cheapens the game. It's not fair. It's cheap. This is cheap. That. I'm like, we're not talking about a play that gains 20 yards a clip. We're not talking about a play that's an automatic first down every time. You're bitching about a play that gains 10 inches to maybe a yard when you run it. That's it. There's 99 other yards on this field you got to defend. And you're worried about cheapening the game because we run this play that gets us 1 yard. You can't be serious right now. Like, I get the defense is jumping off sides and just say, I'm tired of watching undisciplined football. How about that? How about say something like that instead of, oh, this cheapens the game? If anything, it's not a trick play where you tricked. Oh, you had to run a fake punt or a flea flicker to score on me.
You know exactly what we're doing.
I was just going to say that.
My Lotta Lane Johnson, everybody goes, you know what's coming. How can that be anything less cheap than saying, I'm going to tell you the play, see if you can stop it?
Every single person knows what's coming. The whole stadium, every analyst, every person at home, every single person on the field. It's the opposite of a cheap play. Everybody knows, and when they pull off that fake, right? Like they tried against the Rams, or pitch out to Barkley. That's the real shit where I'm like, I absolutely love this shit because like you're biting on it, right? Yeah. So
that has to be something for the Super Bowl, right? Like, we have to have. I know we did the AJ play against the Rams or whatever, and we've done like a little wrinkle to Saquon before, but we have to have like a.
Yeah, it's going to be one of these. Jalen pretends like he fumbled it, and it's like a direct snap through his legs to Saquon behind him. You know what I mean? Like Hurts is there. They snap it through his legs, shotgun to a Wildcat Saquon or something. Hurts goes down or he goes and fakes like he's pushing it. But it gets snapped right between right through his legs to somebody, and they're going to just bust it off.
I hope so. Kansas
City, you're welcome. Like, if you're listening, they're going to do it. They're going to do it. It's going to be, you ready? I'm going to tell you exactly. You're right. It's going to be one of these. They're going to be like, holy cow, he predicted it. You ready for this? Third quarter. Eagles going to be on the Chiefs side of the field between the 45 and the 40. Fourth down. Third or fourth down. I'm not going to be super specific. He's going to bust it. Not going to be for a touchdown. He's going to get it down to like the 15 yard line.
I think third down is the time to run it, because if it blows up, you can at least throw it away.
Yeah.
No,
that's why I switched it. That's why I switched it from fourth to third or fourth.
But I will tell you, I'll predict something too. I predict that the Eagles get a penalty on the tush push just because of the team they're playing.
Yeah.
I'm guaranteeing a offensive offsides, illegal
formation.
formation.
As long as the Godfather is nowhere near the field.
He's got to be dead, right? Sorry, rest in peace if he is. But wasn't he 96 or something? I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be
I think he retired.
He said that was his last Super Bowl, but
the biggest game on the planet.
I can't have his fingerprints anywhere near this game. Well, no, is the Superdome or whatever is turf, right? It's not grass, so it doesn't matter.
And since we're considered the home team, we'll be right. We would be practicing.
Also, wear white gloves.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Wear the damn white gloves. The Chiefs do it all the time.
Yeah.
Wear white gloves for these ticky-tack bullshit holding calls. You get lost in their jerseys. Wear white gloves. CJ, GJ, Quinion, Slay, Coop, Reed, everybody. Every single player on the damn field. Wear white gloves. Every offensive lineman. Every single player. White gloves.
Yeah. I'm so worried about Jalen.
This is brought to you by White Glove Car Wash, the number one car wash in the Delaware, Pennsylvania, New Jersey area. 6 locations, 3 in New Jersey, 2 in Pennsylvania, or 1 in Pennsylvania, 2 in Delaware. You're never too far from the glove. Wear white gloves on Super Bowl Sunday and take your car to White Glove for the ultimate wash.
Transition.
Yeah, that's a perfect segue.
Thank you. Thank you. Gentlemen, we're going to the bowl. Final thoughts.
Hard Rock Cafe on 3.
Oh shit, Coach.
Jaden Daniels, congrats on being 24 years old and making an NFC Championship game. Our quarterback was 24 years old and he outdueled Pat Mahomes in the Super Bowl. We're not the same.
Not the same. You ain't like us. Look, tried and true. Chick-fil-A closed on Sundays, but AJ Brown, he's always open.